Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Capital City Sports Talk. Please put your hands together for Matt and Tom. Welcome to Capital City Sports Talk. I'm Matt Moore.
I'm Tom Benning.
And it is 4:07 actually. A little bit of a late start, but that's all right. We're here to talk sports, and that's what we're going to do. You can give us a call anytime at 803-576-9872. That's 803-576-WUSC. If you have anything that you want to talk about in the sports world going on, and there's a lot going on too, give us a call or talk to Tom on the internet. He's reachable on AOL Instant Messenger at the screen name WUSC On Air. That's all one word. And we're just going to jump right into it, I guess, unless you've got any special announcements or anything.
We were talking about this, I guess, last week. And basically, Matt, I just want to know what's on your mind right now in the sports world. I know it's on my mind, so if you need a little time to think, I can go ahead.
You start that up, because I know it's on your mind.
All
right.
And
then I'll think about something.
Okay. I mean, this is relatively old news, I guess. It happened on Friday with Coach Spurrier chiding the Gamecock fans for cheering as the Gamecocks left the field after the close loss against Auburn, saying, please don't clap when we lose. He said not to boo, but to save the cheering for when the team wins. And I can see where Spurrier's coming from. I can see where he's trying to change the culture of South Carolina football. But at the same time, even if I didn't have anything invested in that game as a student of the University of South Carolina, as a Gamecock fan, I think that game just in and of itself deserved some kind of recognition. I don't think it was fair for the players just to walk off the field. I picked them to get blown out, and I think, and many people did.
Yeah,
And they didn't. They played a phenomenal game. They played out of their minds. They didn't win. That's a given. But they also, I don't think it'd be fair to say that they really did lose either. They lost on the scoreboard. But I think that there was a lot more good coming out of that game than bad. So I see where Spurrier's coming from. But if I had to do all over again, I would clap as the team left the field.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you in that regard. By the end of that game, I was so completely delirious as to what was going on. I don't even really know why I was clapping. I was clapping really because I had just seen probably the best football game I attended. Like, you see great games on TV, but being there is completely different. And having, I guess, your team in a position to win a game like that is incredible. But I was clapping for great football, just like you said. And I was proud of the Gamecocks for how well they stayed in that game. They could have very easily rolled over, especially after that third quarter. And really who'd have blamed them? I've never seen a team hold a ball an entire quarter, even like 10 minutes. That's unheard of, to have the ball for 10 minutes in a college football game, where it's usually each team. Spurrier said each team had 6 possessions in that game. That's ridiculous. Like, Clemson scored more than 6 touchdowns against North Carolina. That's unheard of. And it was an incredible football game. And I don't know. I know where you're going, and I think you applaud good effort, and I understand that Carolina gets used to losing. Like, you actually wrote an article about it last year. There's that mentality, but in that situation, like, if that's Kentucky or if that's Vanderbilt,
there's no clapping.
No,
not at all.
And
there was no clapping.
Bluebirds.
There was no clapping after the Wofford game.
Oh no.
And really, it's a similar situation in how the game ended.
Yeah.
It was close.
Yeah, and you're definitely clapping if you're a Wofford fan, aren't you?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, like, they were into that. And at the end of that game, they were like, man, we played a D1 team in the SEC in an incredible game. You're listening to Capital City Sports Talk with Matt Moore and Tom Benning. We will be on TV on Thursday. I don't even know what time, because you can probably catch us.
It'll be
8 o'clock on Thursday, but really any time all weekend, apparently. And yeah, just give us a call if you got anything for us at 803-576-9872, and we'll be right back. Welcome back to Capital City Sports Talk. I'm Matt Moore.
I'm Tom Benning.
You are either listening to us on WUSC 90.5 here in Columbia or on the internet somewhere, really anywhere.
Where is Jake Broom?
I don't know. I actually talked to him earlier today, and he said he was going to be here. So, or not here, but with us as he usually is online. But or you're watching on SGTV every Thursday. We'll be here every Tuesday from 4 to 6 on the radio. You just want to do some headlines, man?
Let's do it.
All right, you got those.
All right, start things off. We're going to talk about the NFL a little more later, but we have all right, Jake's here.
That's
Just to
always
let you know, he's preparing his weekly Gamecock Challenge post. And let me tell you something, Jake. You're very lucky because Bama and Texas A&M, I was feeling good about that until about 5 minutes ago in the game of Bama, and then Texas A&M blew it on the last drive. So consider yourself lucky. That's all I have to say. And, yeah, my mic's freaking out. But anyways.
your earphones, man.
Whatever. All right. So headlines. Albert Haynesworth of the Tennessee Titans stomped on the head of the center for the Cowboys, Andre Garrard. Is that how I think that's how you say his name.
Yeah.
And received a 5-game penalty from the NFL. Your thoughts?
First off, apparently 5 games is the longest suspension for an in-game conflict, I guess you could call it. The dude that went after the ref after he got it in the eye, got the flag in the eye.
Right.
He got 2 games, so things like that. But when you stomp on a man's head until his helmet comes off, and then you stomp on his head again, I don't know. That's more of a violent act than anything, and really, basically inexcusable.
How long would you have suspended him for?
I'd have given him half a season. I'd have gone 8 games.
Really?
How about those Vols? Albert Haynesworth. Good old Tennessee Vol.
What's that supposed to mean?
Just teaches you where their values are right there.
You realize we go to a school that has more arrests than Tennessee does.
Have we ever stomped on a guy's face on the field? Has that ever happened? No. Okay.
I don't know. It could
By
happen.
the way, Tennessee does have more than us now.
Why? We just got Blake.
Blake was like 14. Tennessee's at 15 or 16 in the past 2 years.
I don't know about that.
Well, you know wrong then.
Anyway, let's keep in mind that Clemson and Carolina did get in a fight a couple years ago, and that was actually while they were still in college, not already gone in the NFL.
Oh, because your boy Bobby Williamson punched Savell in the face. What? Get off me.
So anyway,
Hilliard with those
Athletes
garnet
fight.
colored glasses again.
yeah.
That's what he said last week when I
I
said
know
we were
it.
going into overtime.
We're gonna get to that later, but you still have garnet colored glasses, regardless. Anyway,
Just because I'm not a Tennessee or Clemson fan.
No,
Give me a
just-
break here.
no.
Give me a break.
It's called unbiased journalism. How have we favored Tennessee or Clemson in anything?
I called out Tennessee because the guy stomped on his
I'm not
face.
I'm not
And
defending
you guys
him.
give me the Clemson and South Carolina fight? Give me a break now. That's not a comparison right there. There's no comparison.
What, did I ever defend Haynesworth?
No, but you try to justify it by saying the
No.
Gamecocks are just
No,
as
I
bad.
didn't. Not at all.
Your statement was that Tennessee has terrible values, and that has nothing to do with Albert Haynesworth stomping.
can't-
on a
I
I
dude's
can't help
head.
it that Albert Haynesworth is an idiot. And a very large idiot. That he got in trouble this past summer, I think, for trying to run a person off the road in his truck, which was like an F450 or something. Like it's not even a legal truck, but it's basically like a semi, pretty much. So Haynesworth is just dumb. That's what it comes down to.
Him and Leonard Little, man, they're holding it down
Leonard
for the
Little.
OUT alumni.
That's a shame. He's just bad.
Yeah, he needs to be
bad
in jail
choices.
for the rest of his
Yeah,
life.
probably. Anyways, we got off on a little diversion right there. Tiger winning
my
the
goodness.
WGC American
That's going to be
Express,
a topic every week.
American
from now
Express
on.
Championship at 23 under, 6 straight victory.
Yeah, that is absolutely ridiculous. And actually, I didn't realize, but he tied actually a bunch of people at 6 straight. I didn't realize this was an occurrence that actually
Happens
happened.
a lot.
But he's still behind Oh my goodness, I just forgot his name.
Byron Nelson's
yeah,
the leader.
Byron
at 11.
Nelson at 11. So, but there's nobody in between 6 and 11. So, but yeah, there were actually like 4 other guys sitting at 6, including Tiger. Actually, he had done it earlier in his career, but he's actually going to take a couple weeks off and in 3 weeks play at the Disney, which he's won before, and then 2 weeks after that, play at the Tour Championship, which is basically the 5th major. So I don't see him losing that either. I don't know. I don't think he'll ever lose.
Something that a buddy of mine and I were talking about the other day is, besides the Boston Celtics, where they won, 7 in a row, 8 in a row championships,
Right.
Yeah.
is there another performance in sports that has been as dominating in a
UCLA.
short period of time? UCLA won, 5 and 7 years? But, I mean,
they
you just
won,
think
like-
about the competition that Tiger has to play with. I think it's obviously better than the competition was, 50, 60 years ago, just because, the amount of time these guys put into it. But,
Yeah.
I mean, he's just
Michael
dominated.
Jordan won 6 of 6 full seasons. Like, there was that.
The Bulls, yeah. I mean, 3 and then another 3.
Yeah, and then the middle, Michael Jordan didn't even play that season. So, like, it was 6 straight seasons for him. And so that's pretty impressive.
Well,
One thing.
sorry to interrupt.
No,
One thing
go
about
for it.
UCLA, I mean, they did have 88 wins in a row.
Yeah, I mean,
And that's absurd.
it's hard to argue with that.
Yeah. And like we were saying actually about college basketball, is there's so many more games. They play twice a week, and Tiger, this has been over a span of a month at least, or 2 months at least, because it goes all the way back to the British was the first one that he won.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And so it's amazing to think about, but
But it's not like he's just going up there and throwing up one good round a week. He's playing 4 times over the course of a weekend.
yeah, actually that kind of goes to the point that I was about to prove. We saw that he's not invincible, just for the simple reason that, not even including the Ryder Cup where he and Furyk lost a couple times, there was a match play event where it was just mano a mano for 18 holes basically, and he lost that. But it wasn't a PGA Tour event. And I think giving him 4 rounds and he's going to win no matter what.
Yeah.
But anything can really happen. You think we're not good at golf by any means, but you think we go out there and play 18 holes, anything can happen. We might birdie a couple holes. We might throw a 12 out there on a couple holes. So and so you look at Byron Nelson's 11 straight. Anything could have happened in those 11 tournaments where somebody just kind of crept up and beat him, but that's still pretty amazing, no matter who you're playing.
Definitely. And just for the record, UCLA won 7 straight championships in 10 and 12 years. So.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing.
But you want to talk some NFL? Or you want to take a break or what?
We can do NFL. Let's do NFL. We just took a break.
All right.
At least it seems like we did. I don't even know. I've lost all track of time.
That was 17 minutes ago.
Let's take a break.
All right, you want to take a break? We'll get some more. Yeah, I apologize about the theme music. We're not going to have any marching band music, but you'll enjoy Black Alicious just the same. Welcome back to Capital City Sports Talk. I'm Matt Moore.
I'm Tom Benning.
And Alex Riley, of course, you look respectable.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Hilliard called me in the hall this morning and said the Bears jersey was a little much last week, so I figured I'd
I enjoyed the
pop my
Bears.
Yeah.
collar.
I like
Oh.
that. Ah,
There's Dave.
you know.
There's Big Dave.
Speaking of telephone,
So
is that Dave?
So Alex, how are you doing today?
Oh, peachy. Just got a haircut. Feeling a little better about myself, so it's a good day.
Yeah.
It's a very good day.
Did you get the haircut just for the TV show?
Yeah, that and it was getting a little long in general. It's getting,
All right,
it's getting
guys.
harder and harder to wake up in
Dave,
the morning.
you there with us?
Yeah, man, I'm here.
Hey, what's up?
No, nothing much. Sorry I'm late, fellas.
Hey, it's
all
fine.
good. This is Dave Cloninger, sports writer for the Herald in Rock Hill. So, Dave, I guess we'll just jump right into college football.
Okay.
What did you think of the Auburn game last week?
I thought it was a really great game. Hands down, the best effort, the best commitment the Gamecocks have shown all season. It was a shame that last pass fell incomplete, because I was looking forward to covering the overtime period.
I'm sure on deadline and everything.
Well, I would have made an exception for that one. I just would have had to call in and say, "Look, guys, this might be the best game all year, so just be patient."
Yeah.
What did you think about Spurrier's comments on Friday, where he was disappointed that the Gamecock fans cheered as the team left the field?
At the time when he first said them, I was thinking, it's kind of a strange thing to say, but one of the things I was thinking about as I drove back home was basically like, well, the guy has never been at a place where he's never won consistently.
Mm-hmm.
He did it at Duke. He did it at Florida. The NFL, well, I guess I should say he's never been at a college place where he's never won. But I think he's just used to seeing that his teams have always won, and now that he's here at South Carolina having to build the program up, he's never really been used to, taking teams to the wire and not winning.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess he just didn't. He wasn't used to hearing it, and he said, "Well, maybe the problem is that the players have been coddled a little too much. So, hey, let's not clap when they give a good effort and still don't win."
Dave, this is Alex. What's up, man? How are you?
Hey, Alex, how are you?
Doing good. Listen, you and I have talked about this a little bit in the press box and stuff. I mean, what's your thoughts on Savell Newton? I mean, do you think that he has kind of taken everything that Spurrier's been known to do in a quarterback and kind of been the example of it, or do you think this is a new style for Spurrier? What's your opinion on Savell Newton's play thus far?
Well, I think Savell has been terrific. Thus far, he's improved in every game that he's stepped in at quarterback, and as his comments today in the press conference said, he doesn't really want to play quarterback, but he's doing it, taking one for the team. They asked him to do it, and he's stepped in and done it admirably, in my opinion. To answer the other part of your question, Alex, I don't think Spurs ever had a quarterback like Savell, a kind of a mobile guy, which is why Newton didn't really want to play quarterback in the first place. He said that, Spurrier is a very guy, particular with his quarterbacks. He likes the drop back, classic passer, 5 wide out set guy, a guy who doesn't have to run. Well, with South Carolina's offensive line struggling like it has been, he's needed something to take the pressure off that, and Savell Newton is it, because he can scramble out of trouble, he can hit the short pass, he can throw downfield. I think he's perfect for what South Carolina has now, and I think he needs to be starting for the rest of the season.
Well, something South Carolina's going to see this weekend is another athletic quarterback in Andre Woodson and possibly Curtis Pulley. You never really know. Now, Woodson's nowhere near as fast as Savell, but he's 4th in the conference in passing yards. What is he going to be a problem for the Gamecocks, or what do you see the Gamecocks running into against Kentucky?
USC has never really played well up in Lexington, which is the first thing that concerns me. They have usually won up there, despite not playing well. I mean, 2 years ago they were down in the fourth quarter, only about 5 minutes left, and Mike Rath, of all people, comes off the bench and saves the day. But it's always a challenge when you're facing a mobile quarterback. Kentucky's averaging about 200 yards passing the game. They don't run the ball well,
right.
But USC's defense has always had problems stopping the run. So I see this game as kind of a shootout between Kentucky with Woodson and Pulley back there, and then with Newton on USC's side. I think you'll see a lot of tuck and runs, a lot of designed scramble plays, and a lot of short passes.
Do you think there's any chance of the team being a little emotionally drained or a little hungover from the Auburn game, and they just might not come out and they just might not have it in this game because they're still recovering from that real close loss?
Well, there's always that chance, but I like how Spurrier handled it. Since it was a Thursday night game, he said, you know something, take the weekend off. We'll get back to it Monday morning at practice. So speaking to a couple of players today, they said, it was very relaxing, kind of let yourself heal. Most of them, if they did do anything, it was basically just lightweight lifting. Mostly it was just kind of hanging around, resting up. So with the emotional part, yeah, there's always a possibility, but, I'm thinking that it could be could be a definite concern that they'll come out thinking, well, since we played so well at Auburn, Kentucky should be a pushover. And that's always a concern, but I really couldn't say for sure.
With Dave, we talked a lot last week about Kenny Irons and the cold shoulder he got at Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
When Summers came in. Now with going into Kentucky, do we have? I guess we'd say just as much vendetta problem worrying about a guy like Raphael Little who got a cold shoulder from Carolina and wasn't even recruited. Kenny Irons even got the chance to play here and then left. Now we got a guy who is from the state of South Carolina who doesn't even get looked at by his home school. Do we have a vendetta problem there to worry about?
I would say it's definitely a possibility. Raphael Little, I've talked to him a little bit when he was still in high school. I know his mother was very impressed with Kentucky, and it's always easier for them to say after the fact that they wanted their children to go out of state. But I'm like you, I know that USC didn't recruit him at all. They didn't really want him; thought he was too short. I think that it's always a definite concern to think that Raphael will come out with revenge on his mind, but he is still healing up from a couple of injuries he picked up a couple of weeks ago. Coach Rich Brooks has said that he will play, but he's not 100%. So, but I think that if he gets a chance to charge through that line, he'll be getting a lot of long daylight runs against them.
Yeah, of course, you got Raphael Little, and you talk about how the running game isn't that great, but I believe he was hurt last week, and so they kind of looked to him to carry that load. But just kind of looking at the schedule this week, you got Carolina playing up in Lexington, but that's by no means the premier game in the SEC. What game would you most want to watch this weekend in the SEC?
Oh man, it's hard to pick out one particular one, but I would be probably pressed to say that Tennessee-Georgia game, simply because Tennessee has looked good this season, although their past couple of weeks they haven't really been playing high-profile opponents. And Georgia, as we all know, the last couple of weeks have not looked good at all, despite playing both games at home, both against teams they were supposed to roll over. So I'm anxious to see if Tennessee can go and put it all together against Georgia, because if they don't, they're 0-2. They're facing a very long uphill climb, and maybe the shouts for Philip Fulmer to do something or leave get a little louder. But if they win, then it gets a lot more interesting, because there'll be a lot of teams with one loss kind of staring up at Florida.
Right.
So you get to go ahead and pick a winner in that game?
Well, I don't know if I could definitely say for sure, but I will say up at the Herald, we do our weekly guest picks. I turned in mine today, and I had to go with Volunteers on that one.
All right. Any other picks that you just turned in? What else you got for us?
Well, I'm thinking that despite the intriguing matchups, I think South Carolina will triumph over Kentucky. Let's see, some of the other games that are coming. I believe Alabama plays Arkansas this week.
Right.
No, wait, no, Alabama already played
Arkansas Auburn.
Oh, Arkansas Auburn, that's right. I'm thinking that Auburn's just rolling now, and Arkansas's problems on offense sure aren't going to be solved this week. What are some of those other games?
LSU, Florida.
Yeah, that's right. That's the big one. I was thinking of that one, that Florida, they have struggled a little bit, but they're still getting it done. And LSU's offense, while it looked good last week, they were playing Mississippi State.
This is true.
So I'm going to have to go with Florida on that one.
All right, now Dave, I know that this could be a touchy subject, but what do you think of the Tigers up in Winston-Salem?
Oh, well.
Because I actually will tell you that Tom here in studio has already said that he's leaning towards Wake Forest. And I, of course, picked Clemson by 17.
Well.
So, what you gotta give us your pick on that.
This is
one.
the game of the year in the ACC.
It basically is. It decides the Atlantic Division.
Yeah, I'd be glad to. I've watched Clemson for each of their 3 home games now. As you know, their 3 home games haven't really been against great competition.
Right.
But just looking at it, and I really, really wish I didn't have to say it. I'm going to have to go with Clemson simply because Wake Forest does not have tailback Micah Andrews, which was their offense. I mean, I know they're 5-0, but really they played Ole Miss, they played Liberty, they played UConn,
Duke.
a quote from what's the guy's name? Marion Dukes from Clemson.
Right.
Kind of put it in perspective. He said, I'm a senior here, and I'd really hate to go out my senior year having beaten Florida State 3 or 4 years and losing to Wake 3 or 4 years.
That would not be a
as
good
much
situation.
As I hate to do it, I'm going to have to go with the Tigers on that one.
That's always good to hear from you, Dave.
Well, ask me again in a couple of weeks when Georgia Tech comes.
There we go.
All right, man. Well, I hope you're on in a couple weeks, and we really appreciate you calling in.
It's no problem, fellas. Anytime. Thanks for having me.
All right, thanks,
All right,
Dave.
Later,
Talk
Dave.
to you
All right,
later.
y'all take it easy.
All right.
Bye-bye.
That was Dave from the Rock Hill Herald making a few picks, calling out the Tennessee Vols, trying to, get the light a fire under them maybe to see if they can prove themselves again. Because I think they did against Cal, but really that Florida game would have been huge for Tennessee. Like they're looking at, instead of SEC title hopes, they're looking at national title hopes, I think. Because any undefeated team in the SEC has got to have a legitimate argument.
Supposedly.
Unless you're Auburn,
Yeah.
of course.
No, I mean,
The old Auburn.
I've still got Auburn at number 1, and I'm not giving up that spot. Because I think Michigan's going to beat Ohio State.
You seriously wouldn't give up that spot after what they did, after what Ohio State did to Iowa.
No,
You
because
seriously wouldn't trade
Auburn has done nothing to lose that.
Auburn squeaked by South Carolina in the definition of squeaked.
I saw South Carolina play the most amazing game I've ever seen them play.
But they weren't supposed to play that game. And even we
no,
even said
they weren't
even
supposed
if they
to.
played
They
their-
weren't supposed to win that game. South Carolina wasn't supposed to win that game. But also, tell me what odds bankers in Vegas saw Savell Newton playing the game of his life, and the defense stopping Kenny Irons on goal line stands and like 3rd down and 1 to force punts. Nobody saw that, and it happened. Like, I was telling Tom that South Carolina beats so many teams on that night if they play that
Oh,
same
yeah.
game.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
but they don't beat Auburn because Auburn's that good.
Okay.
I'm just saying, I would love to see an Auburn-Ohio State matchup where Ohio State has to deal with a defense like Auburn's.
Okay.
I don't know. We'll
I
see.
agree.
But I think Michigan's going to beat Ohio State, so we'll get to that when it comes in Week 11.
All right.
But what do we got? You want to take a break before we
Yeah,
break it down?
We'll take a
or-
real quick break, and then we'll come back and break down this amazing South Carolina-Kentucky matchup.
Welcome back to Capital City Sports Talk. I'm Matt Moore.
I'm Tom Benning.
We've got Alex Riley, sports editor of the Daily Gamecock, in studio, along with Jonathan Hilliard, producer of SGTV's Capital City Sports Talk, featuring Matt Moore and Tom Benning. Hosted by whatever you would like to say.
No, it's hosted by you, featuring me.
There you
Featuring
go.
Alex
Featuring
Riley.
special guests.
That's
Special,
right, that's
special
right.
guest Alex Riley,
I am special and I am a guest. so,
statistician
Jake Broom.
along with the writer of our choice from around the state of South Carolina. Anyway,
Yeah.
it's 5:24. We're on till 6 o'clock, as well as every Tuesday from 4 to 6. And you can catch the TV show at 8 o'clock on Thursdays on SGTV, as well as the podcast of the show on dailygamecock.com. So that's a nice new addition. And apparently they're watching us at the Strom. So
if you're exercising at the
if
strong
you're
right
exercising,
now, you go. You're the man or the woman. Keep exercising because I'm
but
not doing it.
It's not right now. So
Well, whenever
it'll
you're
be
watching
on,
this.
on Thursday or all weekend, really. But anyway,
Anyways.
oh, that's lots of rambling.
Yeah, we're going to have to kind of race through this preview.
Oh yeah.
But we'll do the best we can. All right, both teams have the same record. Same conference record, I believe.
No,
No?
Kentucky's a half game up because Kentucky is 1-1 and South Carolina's 1-2.
Okay.
Because Kentucky's loss was to Louisville.
But anyways, it's the same situation, essentially.
Right.
So let's get right into it and break it down by position like always. Starting things off, quarterback. We've talked about it. You can't say enough about Savell's performance against Auburn. But actually, Kentucky's quarterbacks stack up pretty nicely.
Yeah, I like Andre Woodson. I mean, like I said earlier, 4th in the SEC in passing with 1,197 yards. And then if you put Curtis Pulley in there, you probably know he's going to run the ball. But they're both very good.
The late game or game period collapse you saw last year for Kentucky with Woodson in, that's not the way he plays ball, and he's a lot better than he was last year. He was coming into that ball game injured a little bit last year,
Right.
so he's a lot better. Savell played his heart out last week, and I think he'll continue to do it the rest of the season. It is a good matchup, though.
Right. Actually, and I think Woodson's among the nation's leader, if not the leader. I'm not sure, with 14 touchdowns this season.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I was surprised by all that, and I personally had to give this a push.
You gave it a push. I'm going to give it to South Carolina if Newton plays like he did last week. So I'm going to go ahead and agree with a push just because we don't really know if he's going to come out with that same poise and fire. So I'll agree with a push.
I'll take the push.
All right.
All right, Hilliard wants in.
The reason I think you got to give this to South Carolina is because Kentucky's defense is so bad that I think Savell Newton's going to look a lot better than Andre Woodson in this game. I mean, they gave up 558 yards of offense to, was it Central Michigan last week? Central
yeah,
Kentucky.
But we're
He
going to get
may-
to the defense.
He may look better against Kentucky's defense, but as far as one quarterback versus another quarterback, I think we're just putting them into the hypothetical situation of it's one guy or another guy. So, like, it doesn't really matter what they're up against. Like, we could say that Savell's better because the receivers. I mean, I don't know. But I'm just saying, as far as Newton versus Woodson, I'd say they're pretty equal as far as what they do for their team.
Okay. All right. What you got for running backs, Matt?
Mike Davis is still the starter, but I really think Corey Boyd has to get the touches in this game because he's got 5 less carries than Boyd and 50 more yards. Like, I think he's obviously the better back, and he's our third receiver behind Sidney and Kenny. So I think Corey Boyd's the better back, and then, of course, you got Raphael Little, who was hurt last week, so I don't know what kind of carryover that's going to have, but he looked a lot better last year than he has thus far this year. He looked like a premier SEC back last year. But, I mean, I don't know how much to attribute that to the injury. So I'm going to give advantage to South Carolina.
Well, I think, speaking of injured running backs, Little and Boyd are coming into this game, both of them kind of banged up. Boyd did play last week,
Right.
said he wouldn't miss that Auburn game to, show up Kenny Irons for the world. He played his heart out, but I thought you saw the Mike Davis of old play last week too, and, this was a guy who was getting hit 2 yards past the line of scrimmage and then getting an extra 3-4 yards just from keeping his legs churning. These are two. If Little comes in and is a lot better than he was last week as far as his injury goes, this could be a pushable situation.
Right.
But I would still give the edge of South Carolina just because they have 2 running backs instead of 1 running back.
Yeah, that's a good point.
All right. I mean, I actually agree that I think is pretty much a push, but a little bit of an edge to South Carolina because actually their top 2 rushers, they stack up statistically pretty nicely. Tony Dixon is Kentucky's number 2, and he has pretty similar stats to Mike Davis, more touchdowns. But anyways,
Right.
But I'll go ahead and give it to South Carolina.
Okay.
All right, wide receivers, Alex.
South Carolina just smokes anybody in the SEC in this category. I think, with Sydney sort of kind of being shut down last week, and you saw McKinley step up. By the way, if we had a rewind segment, I'd like the Jared Cook has to be the third man segment replayed because I called that last week, and he would have been the man if he had caught that touchdown pass.
I still like Jared Cook.
Yeah.
Yeah, so do I.
He did catch the touchdown
He
pass.
caught the one that pulled us
on the
within
same
7,
play.
and he should have caught the one that
Yeah.
tied the ball game.
Like, I have no idea what happened.
But
I like Jared.
You got to look at the Carolina receivers. With if Boyd's in there, there's another threat. Sydney's obviously the man. McKinley, first 100-yard game, just played dominant football last week. Just ate the defense up. So I don't know a whole lot about Kentucky's receivers. I know that Woodson does have 14 touchdown passes, which says something about them.
Right.
But you still got to give the edge to South Carolina in this one.
All right, I mean I agree, but again I was surprised by the stats here. Keenan Burton has 24 catches for 399 yards, 3 touchdowns. Dickie Lyons 16 for 271, 6 touchdowns. Pulley plays wide receiver, and then Jacob Tammy, I'm not sure.
Yeah, Tammy.
I mean he's an All SEC tight end.
Yeah.
So they have some weapons.
He's
but
huge too. He's really
yeah,
big.
I think you got to give it to South Carolina.
Yeah, along with Pulley, they've got 4 guys over 100 receiving yards, and South Carolina's clearly got the best 2 receivers in this game. As a core, I think Kentucky is better from top to bottom, but I give the edge to South Carolina just because of Rice and McKinley and Boyd. So, edge to South Carolina. As far as offensive line goes, I don't know if I can ever really give the edge to South Carolina. They looked really good against Auburn, just for the simple fact that Savell made them look good, and I think that's going to be the case. Savell's going to do his best to not get sacked, but I don't think it's going to be because the offensive line keeps him from getting sacked. I think he's going to save his own butt, really. So, I don't know. That's really the only reason I can give it to Kentucky. I don't know how good these guys really are. So, Tom?
Go ahead, Alex.
Savell didn't seem to scramble as much last week. He seemed to run a little bit. You know, the pocket would start to collapse a little bit, and he'd kind of take, 2 or 3 steps to the right or the left and plant his feet and throw, stuff like that. But the offensive line, you're right, did look a lot better last week. But as far as giving the edge to South Carolina, you still can't do it no matter what. I think, with Woodson being able to stand in there and throw 14 touchdowns this year, if that says something about your wide receivers, then it's got to say something about your offensive line to give you that kind of time to throw 14 touchdown strikes. So, I would give the edge to Kentucky in this one.
All right. I'll agree with you guys. I was actually thinking maybe a bit of a push, but just because their offensive line, Kentucky's, isn't very big. But another thing with that maybe made South Carolina's offensive line look better is for much of that game, Auburn only sent 3 rushers.
Right.
So,
right.
I mean, that can't do anything but make you look better than you are. But, I mean, it's not that big of an advantage for Kentucky, I don't think.
Yeah, I agree with you there.
Well,
but
the thing is, if they're a smaller offensive line, that means they're probably a little more athletic.
Right.
Which is what our defensive front 7 are, is a lot of athletes. Aside from somebody say like Stanley Doty, there's not going to be a lot of guys that are going to, rip holes in the middle of the defense. Everybody else is
eat holes.
Yeah. There's, it's going to be quickness and speed and bringing pressure from the outside. So if you've got an offensive line that moves just as quick as a defensive line, then things kind of balance out. So.
All right, and Alex just kind of got into the defensive line. I'm kind of going to group, I don't know. Defensive line for South Carolina did a good job against Auburn's run game, I thought.
I thought Stanley was impressive.
He was impressive.
Stanley Doty's the man on defense, really. You look at Stanley Doty and Jasper Brinkley really as the two guys on defense that I think sparked this team.
I'll tell you who looked really good against Auburn, though, was Lemuel Jean-Pierre. He got a sack, but I mean, that's not all he did. If you watch him throughout the game, he's really a light defensive tackle, and he really moves around well. And he put pressure on Cox a couple times. I know Jordan Lindsay got a sack as well, but Jean-Pierre, I mean, for a guy that at the beginning of the season wasn't on the 2 deep, I mean, he's impressed me.
Definitely. And then for Kentucky, Dominic Lewis, 13 tackles, 2 sacks, and then Myron Pryor, 4 sacks. So, I mean, they're all right, but I think there's better parts of the defense. So I give the edge to South Carolina.
I agree. Just because all 4 guys for Kentucky are right around that 11 to 13 tackle range, it just doesn't look like they've got the sacks there. But I give it to South Carolina.
All right, Alex, what do you think about linebackers?
Jasper Brinkley last week had
Amazing.
Kenny Irons' number all night long. It was ridiculous. First of all, the touchdown where he dove and the ball came out the end, that was not a touchdown. He had no possession of that football. Jasper Brinkley should have got a fumble on that, and it should have been a touchback, and Carolina should have had it.
Really?
Yeah, I watched that replay over and over and over again, and the ball is in his hands, but it's not touching his hands. It's fingertips, no control. It was an interesting angle that ESPN showed, and if you go back and you pause at the right second, you can just see that there's no control over it. So Brinkley had his number all night, and I think that, third time's the charm. He got him on the 3rd down,
right,
and he just said, "You're not coming across this line. Not now. I've given you 2 touchdowns already. You're not coming across this line and getting that ball back." And I think that what you saw last week, and I've been preaching this for a while, is that the Carolina defense, especially the linebackers, but the defense as a whole, they scared the crap out of Tommy Tuberville. Because Spurrier said it in the press conference, and the media said it all week, that Tommy Tuberville did the onside kick because he saw a wrinkle in the Carolina kicking game. Tommy Tuberville did the onside kick because he was scared to put his defense back on that field. Okay, he was scared to put that defense back out there against that offense, and he knew that our defense could shut down his offense anyway. The only reason he did it was because he knew that the defense had already been out there for a good 8 minutes when they did the onside kick in the third quarter,
Right.
and he knew that they were already somewhat worn down. He didn't want to send either one of his units out on that field, but I think that Jasper and Marvin Sapp and those guys in the middle really stepped up last weekend. And like I've been saying, you look at the linebacking roster, it's 8. It's 2 people deep at each spot. So this is a unit, the best unit Carolina's got, that's going to keep rotating in and out. And I think that this is going to be a very good week for them, shutting down Raphael Little and getting some pressure on Woodson.
Yeah, a little side note, Eric Norwood's the only Gamecock with multiple sacks.
Right.
I thought that was an interesting stat. Kentucky's linebackers, obviously led by Woodyard. I don't have his first name. Wesley Woodyard. He leads the team in tackles with 47, and he's got 4 for a loss. But still, I give that edge to South Carolina.
Definitely. All right, real quickly, the defensive backs for South Carolina look real good against Auburn, and I think the return of Emmanuel Cook will just do nothing but help. And then for Kentucky, you have their safeties are pretty solid. I don't know much about their cornerbacks. You have Roger Williams, who's all SEC candidate, and Mark McClinton as at the free safety. So they're pretty formidable across the middle, but I don't know much about their cornerbacks.
Yeah, I saw McClinton had 4 forced fumbles. I thought that was pretty weird.
He can lay the wood on you, I think.
I agree with you guys. I mean, they're both secondaries match up actually pretty decently. I think Carolina's got the edge in this one a little bit. I don't think Auburn threw nearly as much as we thought they were going to throw on them last week. And a few times they did. Obviously, Carolina was looking for the run, and a couple times did get beat. But most of the times when they knew a pass was coming, they were able to keep it in front of them. So I think I'd give the edge to Carolina in this one.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, we'll skip special teams just because it's not that interesting.
We're going to the woodshed.
We'll go ahead and make picks. Who wants to start? I'll start.
Okay.
All right. Carolina all-time 10-6-1, but Spurrier's 13-0 against Kentucky. That'll definitely continue, but I do think it'll look close. Like Dave was saying earlier, that historically, it's usually a pretty close game up in Lexington. So I'm going to go 31-21.
I'm going to actually pick a little closer game than that. That's a good pick, and I'm going to stay right around in that point range. But I'm going to say 28-24 Carolina.
I thought about that one, but I went with 31-21.
I think Carolina, after what happened last week, is coming in with you want to talk about a vendetta. Somebody's coming in with a vendetta. They're going to take out some frustration on Kentucky. I believe this game probably will be close till about midway through the third quarter, and then the defense and the offense are just going to kind of wear whatever Kentucky's got left in them down a little bit. I think somewhere along the lines of 31-17 Carolina.
Okay.
All right. All good picks. I'm Matt Moore, and
I'm Tom Benning.
and we're Capital City Sports Talk, and we're going to take a quick break and come back and end things up with the woodshed. So you don't want to
get excited.
All right, we're going to take a break. Welcome back to Capital City Sports Talk. I'm Matt Moore.
I'm Tom Benning.
And we're here with Alex Riley, sports editor of the Gamecock, and Jonathan Hilliard, producer of SGTV's Capital City Sports Talk. It's 5:40. We've got 20 minutes left. Coming up next, we've got Bunny Beats Blender Box and another great music show, which we are also preceded by with Greg. But it's woodshed time, fellas.
I'm taking Shaq to the woodshed and the Heat as a whole, but mainly Shaq, for whining and complaining about the new basketballs that the NBA is using this season. This is Shaq's quote saying, "I think the new ball is terrible. It's the worst decision some expert, whoever did it, made. The NBA has been around how long? 100 years? 50 years? So change it now. Whoever that person is needs his college degree revoked." It's a terrible decision. First of all, Shaq's college degree is from, or his MBA is from University of Phoenix, which I took to the woodshed last week. So don't even talk to me about getting your college degree revoked. And he doesn't even know how long the NBA has been around, and he's complaining about the ball. Let's think about this. This computer screen right here, I don't know if anybody on TV can see it, but think about, your average, what is this, like a 20-inch? No, not even that.
Like 17.
17-inch. That's about the size of Shaq's hand. Does it matter what kind of ball he is putting in that hand? His hand eats the ball every time he touches it, and then he just dunks it, so it's not like he even touches it that long.
Now, Tom,
In his defense,
You finish
in
and
his
let me
defense,
know when you're done.
he has Michael Doliak backing him up. Are you serious? When does Michael Doliak play to even concern
D
himself
Wade's
with how?
got his back too,
I don't even care what D Wade says.
and I don't care what you say.
D Wade already is having to adjust to. He's played with 4 different types of balls because he's been on the Olympic team, the FIBA World Championships, and so he shouldn't even have to worry about that. But Shaq, don't come cry to me, halfway through the season when your numbers are down again, and say, "Oh, it's the new ball." No, it's just that you're getting old, and that's pretty much all I have to say.
I just have a few questions for you, and you
Okay.
don't have to rant and rave. This is not really what the woodshed's about. It's an argument, okay? Let's be civil. First question: How many times has the NBA changed its balls?
What a great moment in radio history.
How many times?
Somebody call
I
somebody.
would probably say this is, I don't know, second, third.
This is the second time.
Okay.
The first time it was after 5 years when they were using a ball that didn't bounce properly. Okay.
Because it used to have laces on it.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, not in the NBA. Not.
It's college.
Yeah,
basketball.
see, what does Shaq complain about?
No,
If he wants to
no.
go old school,
It's my turn.
why doesn't he go back to what
It's my
James
turn.
Springfield had and
Because those
use the
balls
peach
didn't bounce
basket?
at all.
I'm just saying.
They didn't dribble. Shaq shouldn't dribble, by the way.
That's
But
true.
anyway, okay. They've changed it twice. First time, completely practical reasons, which brings me to my second question. Why change the ball?
Because players complained about it.
Who was complaining?
A number of players in the league complained about it. How the ball would wear incredibly quick, and so you didn't know if you're getting a new ball or an old ball. And so some games it would be fresh and that'd be great, but some games it'd be like the 5th time that ball had been used. And so that's why they complained about it, and that's why the change was made. The change was made from a player's recommendations to the league.
Okay. Anyway, new ball. Did you kind of cut Shaq's quote off? He said,
That's
and
where
this
it
is-
ended.
And this is where it kept going in USA Today. This is where Dwayne Wade agreed with him, is that when the ball gets wet, like if your hands are sweaty, then it goes all over the place. Like, granted, Shaq's hands are huge.
Granted, Shaq sweats more than anybody I've ever seen in my
Exactly.
life. So even with the leather
Because he's
ball,
working hard.
Even
Big
with the-
man's working hard.
even with the
He's gonna
leather ball,
sweat.
he's gonna saturate it.
No, the leather would soak it up and not be all sliding around. He said it's just like, he and Dwayne Wade both said it's just like playing with an indoor-outdoor ball. And we know what that's like. It's like playing with a piece of rubber.
Yeah, and Shaq said, and I quote, "It's like playing with one of those indoor-outdoor balls you buy from the toy store." That's exactly what he said.
Which is exactly what he means. Like, that's like going to Walmart and buying a off-brand basketball, which is great when you're playing out on the spur next to Woodrow, but really sucks if you're on a court and you're in the NBA. Have you seen what the thing looks like?
I haven't.
It is ugly. It doesn't even look like a basketball anymore.
What's different about it?
No, it's completely like the shape, like the shape of the patterns on it are completely
Oh,
like the
okay.
laces and or the
Little
I-
lines or
yeah,
whatever.
the lines are completely different. Which, by the way, is probably going to piss some shooters off because I know, at least from like my playing experience, like when I shoot free throws and stuff, I hold the laces the same way. I hold the lines because it does, like, holding it different ways changes your shot a little bit. And, like, you get used to something. So I don't know. I don't get it. It doesn't make sense to me why you need to change the ball. I guess if players are saying that the wear on it is one thing, but fix that, but don't, like, why does the ball got to look different? That's stupid.
How many other sport leagues have adapted new things, though? Like football has adapted new helmets or pads, or I know back in the 70s used to put metal braces actually in your arm, and when you were a defensive lineman, you could come around and whack a guy in the helmet, leave his ears ringing for 3 hours. Those don't exist anymore. How many times has baseball changed, how much tar you can put on a bat, what kind of cleats you can use, what the helmet style is. The thing about basketball is the only thing that's changed in its entire, creation are the length of the shorts. And that's about it. The shorts have got longer, and the
24-second clock.
and
Those are and you can't
Right.
tell me that no one wasn't complaining when those changes were made.
Right, but think
I don't know
about,
if they were complaining about the
but think-
three-point arc, but what you're looking at now
Oh, the
is
big men were
well, of course, the big men are always going to complain though.
like Shaq.
I
But-
okay, and what my third point is,
Let
but,
Riley
but,
finish it.
Yeah.
but what you're looking at is there hasn't been any major adjustments made in the NBA in the past, 25 years? You know, the 3-point line has been in for a little while. You know, the shot clock's been in for a good little bit of time. So there's nothing major been changed. So if they're changing up the style of the ball for a reason because players are complaining about it, then guess what? Just like everything else that's changed over the next couple of years or the last couple of years, you're going to adopt to it. You're going to adapt to it. It's going to, you know, after 2 or 3 games, it's not going to be an issue anymore. Once he gets into practice and summer camp and gets used to handling, you know, this new basketball, everything will be fine. It's no big deal.
A real
Yeah.
champion would just rise
Exactly.
up and be like, it doesn't matter what.
Let's
Exactly.
not talk
I'll
about
pl-
real champions.
I'll
Tom,
play with-
because the man is a real
It's like the
champion.
time. It's like the time
How many
management
does-
clock in the NCAA right now.
How many rings does he have?
How many times have we thought about it in the last week? You know, when we started the season and nobody knew how it was going to work, everybody was like, "Oh man, we're running out of time. Timeouts are being wasted and we're getting penalties and stuff." Now all of a sudden it's just like, it's just part of the game. And then
Right.
next year
Yeah.
it'll become even more part of the game and more. And eventually nobody will even remember how we used to do it.
Yeah. Okay. I'm just gonna go ahead and say I know what you're saying. Like you get used to what you're given, but first off, or I guess fourth off, I've made so many points I don't even know what to do with myself. How are you gonna call out a guy like Shaq for his statistical drop off when the Heat they did win the the World Championship? How many rings does he have? How many? Jonathan's holding up 4. I'm thinking
3,
4. Yeah. So let's not talk about stats or things like that. Let's talk about championships.
Let's
and when
think-
the Heat repeat, that's all I got to say.
Let's think about
even
how,
with the crappy
what,
ball.
What would have the Heat done
Even with the
without
crappy
D
ball.
Wade? If it was just Shaq, do you think
What
Shaq?
would the Bulls have done without Pippen
Or
Don't-
Jordan.
No, but I'm just saying that you can't say that Shaq was the I don't think Shaq was the reason why the Heat won. I think D Wade was the reason. His
Do you
maturation.
think the Heat win the national or the World Championship without Shaq? There's no way.
I think the reason the
Not
Heat
a
won.
Do you think,
You
do you
can't
think the
say that-
Lakers win the championship without Shaq?
With just Kobe, look at that.
That was with the Lakers. Shaq was the most dominant player in the league at that point. You cannot even come close to saying that right now.
well,
He
no,
might be
How many
the most
points
dominant
he had?
player.
Who can stop
He had
Shaq?
under 10 points in one game. Shaq stops himself. He's
exactly
getting old.
So that he's
Yes, he
still
is.
dominant because no one can stop him. But
That is not
himself.
true.
and that's the simple case for any
if no
dominant
one can
player.
stop him, why can't he score 30 a game anymore?
Because he doesn't have to. They won the world
'cause
championship.
No, he can't, and so D Wade took it on his shoulders, and that's why the Heat won the world
But
championship.
if you're making that argument, then you're making the argument that they don't win the world champion, or that they do win the world championship if Shaq's still
No, I'm not
somewhere
saying
else.
that if you take the team apart, that it changes, that it wouldn't, like, if you
Put-
took Shaq off the team, that they would win. I'm just saying that, by and large, the reason that the Heat won is because D Wade took them on their back.
That
Okay.
I'll
All right.
agree with, but
Let's
you
not
can't say
say-
that Shaq is not still. He may
I'm
not be
I'm
the
saying
most
he's good.
dominant player.
That's what I'm saying. That his statistics are on decline because he's getting old. That happens to people. It happened to Michael Jordan. He got old and he wasn't good with the Wizards. Okay, it happens. It's a fact of life. Shaq is not going to play forever. He's not going to score 30 a game forever. He might not even score 20 a game forever.
True.
Okay, I agree with you that as players age, they get older. Or as players age, they
Really?
get their
That
stats
was the
go
deduction
down.
of the day.
Right.
Shut up.
Unless you're Barry Bonds.
But no, listen. Put another center on that team and tell me that the Heat win the or the World
you're
Championship.
struggling. with
Shut up.
We're a college radio station. We
That's
like saying
true.
national
We
championship.
don't relate to professional sports.
Tell me that,
well.
and it's not even a world championship. It is a national championship. I
Yeah.
guess you could say it's a continental championship because of the freaking Raptors. But no, tell me that the Heat win with any other center.
But I'm saying the reason they won this year was the maturation of D Wade. Why didn't they win when Shaq first signed up?
Because I'll give you the fact that Dwayne
That's
Wade.
all I was saying.
No, we'll give you the fact they won it because
That's all
D
I'm
Wade
saying.
came around.
I didn't say Shaq wasn't an integral part of that team.
They went from the year before Shaq came, they lost in the first round of the playoffs. The next year, they lost in Game 7 in the Eastern Conference Finals, Tom. You can't tell me
Okay.
that he doesn't make all the difference on that team because without
He
him,
certainly makes them
without
better.
him, they lock on D Wade, and that's the only thing they have to worry about. You gonna tell me Alonzo Mourning is gonna take the heat off of D Wade?
I could argue with the fact that nobody can really lock on Dwayne Wade.
Well, I mean,
because-
if you got 2 or 3 guys shadowing him, though, I mean, he's a good basketball player, but he's not going to beat a double or a triple team.
And
you can't do
did
that
against the Mavericks.
But you still have to worry about Shaq. I mean, he wasn't beating triple teams on a consistent basis.
He was getting beat by Desangana Diop. That's what was happening.
Jop, by the way.
Whatever.
It's pronounced Jop.
He shouldn't even be brought up in any sort of sports conversation.
All I'm saying is that the Heat don't even make the finals if Shaq's not on that team.
I'm not denying that Shaq was huge and incredibly important to the Heat's world championship, but the reason they made the jump to world championship was because D-Wade got a lot better.
We did take Shaq to the woodshed because of the ball, right?
Yeah.
All right. I was just making sure. I'm just saying.
Get over the ball. That was the point of mine. Woodshed.
I agree. Get over the ball.
Okay. I can say get over the ball to Shaq, but Shaq's still a dominant force because there's no center in the NBA that can stop him.
I just told you that
Anything?
he struggled against the Mavericks. He was stopped in some of those games.
There is no center that could replace Shaq for any
Are you going to
team.
say that he wasn't stopped in some of those games in the finals?
In some of the games he was, but not by another team.
He was
Shaq-
stopped by the other centers.
No.
Hey, Eric Dampier.
Shaq was no.
Yes.
No. Shaq was stopped because, like you said, he's getting older.
No, he was
Shaq was stopped by himself.
straight up. He was shut down by Eric Dampier and Diop.
And if we're gonna talk about logistics and things like that, he was probably stopped a lot by the fact that he had 2 fouls going out of the first quarter in almost every game in the playoffs. Like, Pat Riley kept his butt on the bench for most of every first half. Like, he never played in a second quarter. I don't know. I'm just saying. Wade got fouled a lot, too. I don't know.
The fact that we've been talking about the NBA on this show for 12 minutes is ridiculous.
No, I'm liking it. It's time.
Variety's the spice
It's,
of life.
it's time for
There you go.
basketball. I was
We've
really,
already had
especially
this discussion.
after the Wofford game, it was definitely time for some basketball.
And after the Auburn game, it was definitely time to continue some football.
That's a
Trust me
good
on that.
point. Man, clock just hit 6
yeah.
o'clock. You've been listening to
Consider it
Capital
done.
City Sports Talk. I'm Matt Moore.
I'm Tom Benning.
We've got
I'm Alex Riley, just saying goodnight.
it's been a very good show, and catch 1 hour condensed version on SGTV at what? It's not an hour.
It's enhanced.
Enhanced.
It's still condensed. It can both. Okay, 8 o'clock on Thursday. Purified.
Purified? What are we, water now?
Or catch us next Tuesday from 4 to 6 back here on WSC.
Podcast.
Or podcast, dailygamecock.com. We're really leaving this time.
Let's go.
All right, until next week.